All right, guys, we're live on Patreon. We're sending the link now, but we're going to go ahead and just kind of get started a little bit. Welcome. Thanks for coming. Once everybody starts pouring in, we'll do a bit more. Great to have Sarah Mack with us tonight. And we just gotten off vacation. And so it looks like just trying to get back in the saddle. We got home late last night. And it's been kind of, playing a little catch up. But it's been great. We're really glad to be back, and it's been a little while since I've been to the range, so I'm pretty excited about getting back out to the range coming up. But hopefully, if you're watching this, you're missing the live typically, and it just gives you kind of an introduction. But we're really glad you're here, and we're going to be taking a lot of questions. We've got a few things to talk about, and just see how things go. So. When you get plugged in, just say hello, and we'll know that you're here. Because as I always say, we're just looking at this little small camera. Sometimes it's our phone, which we use on Facebook, but we use a small camera here. So beach was great. We were there with my wife's family and, all the in-laws, and we had a great time. And, we had about, 15 at the house, I think it was 15. And we were down in South Carolina at Myrtle Beach at Ocean Lakes. And if you've ever been to Myrtle Beach, you pretty much know about Ocean Lakes. But it's a pretty cool place, very family oriented. You can go in there and never come out until you leave to go to the beach almost, which is nice. A lot of golf carts and just a lot of Trump supporters are very conservative mindset down there, and this is kind of nice. But we had a great week. We needed a break, and honestly, I did take my computer and I was going to do a few things, but I grabbed the wrong cord. I have two laptops that I typically work from, and I grabbed the cord to the other one, and so I only had limited battery life, and just decided, you know what, except for doing a little bit, I think I sent a picture to you guys just to say, hey, if you're wondering why I haven't been catching up, that's the reason. Too busy down at the beach hanging out. And it was a lot of fun. So good to see you guys popping in. We're going to be talking about a few things. We're going to be talking. I really want a lot of feedback from you guys especially on a couple of things. But we've got a few just details. We want to go over some things that are happening. Really right now, the big thing right now that's happening to me is to watch these Democrat candidates just go full bore against firearms, against the Second Amendment. I mean, like I've never seen it before. I mean, they are saying some of the craziest things. And, they've always kind of said, well, we don't want to take your guns, but we want to get these. But it's just getting more and more bold. And guys, that's where it's going to go. And the thing is, if it's on the national level, it creeps down into the state, into the local, and we have got to be active. We've got to continue to be active. And so, it's so important because it's like a buddy of mine who actually was one of the representatives in our area in North Carolina. He was a Democrat. He was one of the most pro Second Amendment guys I've ever known. And but that was 30 years ago. And I remember he ended up switching to the Republican Party because, and not that the Republican Party is perfect because we all know it isn't. But, one thing, the Democrats just seem to really be pushing the envelope toward gun control and getting more and more acceptance. So, guys, we have got to be active. I mean, that's all there is to it. I did see where Eric Schwalwell or whatever, how you pronounce his name. No, it's Schwalwell. He's the one that said, why do you need your guns? If you're going to try to take on the government, we have nukes. And he just dropped out of the presidential race. Well, that was the way it came out. It was like, is this a threat? And it was kind of crazy. But, it was a big deal in the news there for a while. And he just dropped out of the race, which is great. He wasn't getting any support. I think he even did a rally right there at NRA.
It was like a protest rally or whatever, and only like 18 people showed up.
Yeah. The photo, it was 18 people or so.
They said that they invited those people. That wasn't really a rally.
Yeah. Okay. But, and that's the thing, guys, I know over the years, being, especially at NRA rallies, because that's really where a lot of people kind of focus their energy. These protests were usually very small. I'm talking about 10 people, or if the media was down there, they would get the camera angles to where it looked like there were a few more than there were. So, guys, we have to really be vocal. And with this election cycle coming, we've got to stand and fight, especially for those that are conservative. I would recommend that, if you can get involved in your political parties locally, do so because it's a great way to get things going. And a lot of times you can rub elbows and it really helps. So anyway, welcome, guys. Welcome. We just really are excited about tonight. And we really missed you guys last week. We were in the sun and fun. We went down on Sunday and we came back on Sunday. And my wife's birthday was on Sunday. And I won't say which birthday it was, but it was one of the big ones. And in fact, Sarah Mack planned a huge party for her. Just
surprise.
Yeah, it was a big surprise party. It was great. We had a great time. She is now at camp with my youngest son, Grant. They're at youth camp and they'll be there all week. So, typically on Monday nights, we have a crowd upstairs, but they're not here tonight. And so anyway, they're going to a camp. It's going to be a lot of fun, and they are already there. And the great thing about that camp is the guy that runs it's a buddy of mine. In fact, he bought a Glock 45 from me a few years ago. And it's Snowbird up in, I believe it's in Matthews, North Carolina. It's a beautiful camp. Whitewater rafting, zip lines. I mean, they do skeet shooting. I mean, they do all kinds of stuff up there. It's a Christian camp.
Paintball.
Yeah, paintball. But this is really a great camp. So Grant's up there. I know he's going to be having a big time. So anyway, just great to have you guys. I see you guys piping in, and we just love it. Yeah. Again, let's get fired up. Let's start really getting involved, holding these people to the fire. I'll tell you, our local representatives here in South Carolina, and there are some Democrats and Republicans. A lot of the Democrats here are somewhat pro-gun just because of the nature of the state. But if I send them a message, an email, or I can even call their number, it's their personal cell number. And a lot of times they will call me back or they will text me back. I mean, they're very responsive. Some of the bigger urban areas and the bigger cities, you're not going to get it as much. But a lot of times in some of the, more outlying areas, you can have some direct, influence on those people. And so it's really critical. Now, one thing that I do want to talk about tonight in particular is many of you have seen some things about the ATF has kind of said some things about pistols, what classifies it as a pistol. And, I've got a couple of pistols here, just a little, I believe this is, I don't know, what is this? Oh, this is the, H&M Defense. Great gun, by the way. I did a video, in fact, on this gun saying it was the ultimate SHTF AR-15 Silver Sensible Prepper. There's some things about the bolt and bolt carrier these guys have done that are just exceptional. But one of the things that the ATF has said is they've said for a pistol, you can't count a brace. You can count a stock, but you can't count a brace for the overall length of the firearm. And if it's over 26 inches, it's just a firearm. If it's under 26 inches and you have a pistol, a vertical pistol grip right here, it's considered an any other weapon. And you have to get a tax stamp, and I believe it's just $5, but it should be registered. Now, here's the thing. This is my rule of thumb. And really, this is the only thing that it applies to is the vertical pistol grip. So if the whole firearm without the brace is over 26 inches, it's technically you can put a pistol grip on there.
Enigma says this tax stamp is $200.
Is that the one? Is that for every other weapon though? Because I know with a sawed-off shotgun, it's $5 because it's a class 2. And then with suppressors and short-barreled rifles, if that would be considered a short-barreled rifle, it would be $200. So maybe that's the way they're classifying it. But if it's in any other weapon, I believe it's just $5. But you can correct me on that. And I don't really, I think that, but I'm not positive. But yes.
He's all NFA tax stamps are $200 unless you are a police agency.
Okay. Huh. I'll have to look into that. I know that it used to be $5 for a sawed-off shotgun. You still had to get through all the paperwork, just like you did before, but it was only $5. And then there were some other items that were in that, but maybe it's changed. I guess I should have Robbie Wheaton here to keep me informed because he is a Class 3 dealer. Maybe I should ask him. But really the only thing that this ruling, I mean, just to get down to the bare basic, the only thing this ruling does is say that if you have a AR pistol or whatever kind of AK pistol, and you're counting the brace to make it over 26 inches, that the ATF says the brace doesn't count. So to me, if you're going to have a pistol, don't put a vertical fore-end brace, or a vertical foregrip on it in the first place. I mean, it just gets a little complicated. I know one time at a gun show, I was walking in behind a guy, and he had one. He had just a small AR pistol, had a vertical fore-end, and I tapped the guy, and I said, "Hey, I said, I don't mean to get in your business." I said, "But that constitutes that as a, I guess it would be, it's not, it falls within the NFA rules." And he looked at me and he goes, "I don't care. It's not my gun. It's his." I said, "Okay, have at it." But in fact, one time we did a video. This was at a shooting range, and a buddy of mine walked up, and he had an AK pistol with a forward grip. And the ATF actually contacted him. I think it was actually the local law enforcement knew him, and they got in touch with him and said, "Hey, either take that brace off or get that thing registered." He took it off. So I always try to keep my nose clean. But anyway, the biggest thing is, because at first when I started reading it, I thought, oh, they're reclassifying, pistols, in this configuration with the brace and all that. But all it is if you're putting on a forward vertical grip. Now you can still use the standard, angled foregrips. You can use the little hand stops. You can still use those like always. But if you're going to go with the full grip.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. All for that? Oh, Lord, you're going to have to do all this stuff to put on this one little thing.
It is dumb. I mean, it's completely dumb. But here's the real dumb thing is if you do something like that and then you get caught and you go to jail, then it's just not that I don't know that they're running around prosecuting it, but the best thing to do is just to be careful because, especially with the way that, information is spread like it is right now. So, but anyway, I just want to kind of give you a heads up with that. So if you have if you have a standard pistol like this and you have a vertical foregrip on here, take it off because that is not legal unless you have this registered. And so sometimes people don't really realize that. But see here, even on this little MP5, it's got this forward little grip, even though it's built in to the forend. Okay, so anyway, we are going to be taking some questions. I do have some things to talk about. If there's some things that you want to just ask, we'll open it up. Okay, I think we have something.
It's not a question, but Enigma says, "Now you're making me doubt myself." And then the Bug Killer says, "AOW are $5. So,
and I can understand how you would get confused a little bit because putting that on, does that make that a short barrel rifle? Does it change it to any other weapon? So I understand. Well, thank you. And thank you. I think that it is. It's $5 and then $5 for like a short barrel shotgun, unless you get a Shockwave, which, hey, whatever works. The one thing about America is that it should be the letter of the law. I mean, when they formulate these laws, they have to be very precise. They have to be very particular. And if anything falls outside of that, if they did not include it, it's legal. It's one of the things about America that's awesome. And it's, everything is legal unless it's prescribed by law to be illegal. And so, when they, just like with the, and that's the thing about the bump stocks, that is a really gray area. I made a video about that when all that stuff started happening. And the regulations, to change the regulations is honestly against the law. And I really feel that when any of these are taken to, if the Supreme Court will hear them, that's the big problem. Really it's there, the ATF has changed the definition. By law, they can't. But I read through that whole thing. It's just very ridiculous. Yes.
Nancy asked.
Hey, Nancy.
Does anyone have any insight on what the ATF is doing, how they make these decisions? It seems very arbitrary.
Well, the sad thing is, if you write a letter to the ATF and you ask a question and you get an answer, that does not mean that you're okay to just do whatever. And that's the crazy thing. They're kind of giving you a guidance of the regulation, and so it's not really clear cut. So because they'll say this is you can do this, but see, then they'll change it somewhere else, and it's their interpretation of the law and the regulations. So you just have to be careful. And we'll just see. But I know that just like with these pistol braces, I mean, this is an area where they've gotten around the letter of the law, and once they put this out, it was like, well, you know what, they're right, and so that's one of the reasons why we can have pistol braces, and on a AR short pistol or whatever, because of the law, because it's not specified in the law. It's not a stock. And so, it's kind of neat. But yes, the ATF can be all over. And sometimes people have gotten letters and then have been prosecuted on another end. So, you can't always follow what they say. So for me, it's like somebody asked me a while back, they said, Don, why don't you just, have your FFL? Because I do. I have guns that come through a lot. We're taking them in, we're sending them back, we're doing stuff all the time. And I said, no, I don't want to do that, because then I'm subject to the ATF, to inspection, and I got to keep up the paperwork. This way, as long as I'm staying staying in the law, as far as a gun owner, which is pretty broad in a lot of places, at least here, I don't have to worry about the ATF. Now, if I have a, short barreled rifle and, it's not registered or a suppressor, that changes it, but I don't. And so anyway, but, just the thing is it's, it can get kind of thick, the law, but it's important to know, especially when you start getting into some things. So, it's best to kind of stay, to me, it's best to stay more on this side, give it some measure, because you don't want to ride too close. Sure. I mean, it's like for me, a lot of times when I'm shooting these, we'll shoot the pistol brace. Every time I will demonstrate, if I think about it, I will demonstrate each of the different methods, because it's almost like I'm saying I'm just covering my bases. But typically when we shoot it, shooting it off the shoulder is definitely the best way to do it, but it's still a brace. And just because you have a brace and you put it on your shoulder does not change the, and most of us have been through a lot of this already when this started coming out. So, and some of these braces, like this XP Tactical brace right here, this little PDW brace, man, this is my favorite. I love it. It is solid, and then it's just beautiful. It's one of the great things about technology. So anyway, okay, let me see. I was going to talk about a few things here, and I just want to look to make sure I'm on track. You guys have questions or comments that you see are interesting? Yes.
Has the ATF or other LEO agencies ever contacted you about your videos?
Yes. ATF has contacted me a few times and have complimented me on saying, you know what, you're a good advocate for firearms. I was honored. I was surprised. But I guess I shouldn't be, because a lot of ATF agents, are just pro gun. They're just guys. That's just the, profession they've chosen. So, but, I have gotten a Border Patrol's another one. I've gotten info, just different, of course, law enforcement agencies. I know a lot of law enforcement, and a lot of you guys. I said this the other week. I was really surprised at how many patrons are former or current law enforcement. And that was a real honor to me. So, but the thing is, I want to be legal. I don't want to lead anybody into doing something that's not legal. And so it's really kind of important to keep up with, what's going on. That's like South Carolina gun law. I've read that a number of times. I've just read through it. And because I wanted to make sure, that I was doing the right things. But yes, I've had a number of different law enforcement agencies just through email or whatever. When we first moved down to Greenville, we lived in Brevard for a number of years, but my wife's family had property down here. So we used to shoot where I shoot at my range down there. We've been shooting there for years. And so there was some houses were being built behind it. And, I would shoot anyway because I had, at that time, that was part of our business. And I had a county sheriff's deputy pull in one day, and he said, "Do you know anybody that shoots around here?" And I started laughing. I said, "Well, that would be me." And so he started talking to me, and he said, "Well," he said, the people over there have said you shoot all, they say they hear a lot of gunfire over here every day." And I said, "Well, first off," I said, I don't shoot, but about at the house a couple of times a week. We do have a gun club that we go to, and we shoot a lot more. But I try to be considerate because I do know that there are some houses, and I just want to be a good neighbor. But on the other hand, sometimes I just need to go down there and do my shooting, and so because it's my business. So anyway, I said, "Come on down, let's take a look at it." He walked down. He loved it. He was like, "I love this. This is awesome," and then went back up and he said, "This is great." He goes, "You don't have to worry about it. We're going to, what they call whitelisting it. That means if anybody calls about that area shooting, that they can just say, well, it's fine." And so I went back and he opened his trunk, started pulling out different guns, and we talked about them, and it was really cool. It was really cool. But yeah, I mean, to me, law enforcement, the guys have so much, no matter whether it's federal, state, county, city, whatever, they have to take a bunch of bull a lot of times, and they don't get the respect they deserve. And so whenever I always try, and I've always told my kids, I said, always show respect. And, a lot of times I have a good friend of mine. In fact, he's a close family friend. They live in Ferguson, Missouri. And, and during all that stuff that happened, I mean, they were right in the middle of it. He's a pastor. And, he was just telling me, some of the things that had gone on over there. And, just a lot of the stuff that happened during that time was because of just disrespect for law enforcement. So I don't know. Okay. Now, again, you guys, now listen, if you're watching this, we are not looking at Patreon. If you're on Patreon asking questions, pop over to the YouTube link and make sure you ask those questions there because, we have had that a couple of times. Yes.
Chase Kelly asks, "Hey, Don, are you interested in the new P365 XL?"
Yeah, I haven't seen one yet, but I've been hearing about it. And, it was funny because we talked about this a little bit with the standard P365. I talked to SIG and they were kind of interested in maybe doing some things because of, in fact, they even took some of my blurbs on the video. They asked if they could do it. And I said, sure. And so we were talking about maybe doing something to show the, how the P365 is really, they've taken care of the problems. And we were like, yeah, okay, we're going to do it. And we never did. And I've talked about it, here on Facebook, on Facebook and on Patreon. So, but yeah, I would like to get a hold of one of those. I've really enjoyed the Shield with the 4-inch barrel. That's been it shoots differently. It feels differently. It's, it's got that little bit longer barrel and it gives it a little more sight radius and the balance is a little better, just like on the G48. Same thing, single stack, but a little bit longer. It's just an unusual. Here's the thing I love about all that stuff is that for years, there are these certain criteria that we kind of look at, and then all of a sudden we break a mold. And that's what's happened right here. And I just think that's exciting. So, but yeah, I would like to get a hold of one, but we'll see. Yeah. Yeah. Sarah Mac's been with her horses today earlier. Mm-hmm. And she's been hanging out and taking, you've done some pretty cool things. And listen, guys, I hope you guys, because this made me think about it, I hope you guys had a great 4th. We had a great 4th, and we really got to talk about some things about, our freedoms and, just it's just a good time to be able to, especially if you have family. We're very fortunate because all of our family is very conservative on both sides. And it's just a good thing, but that's not the case for a lot of people. Yes.
Nancy asks, "Sarah Mac, how is Buddy now?"
Yeah.
Buddy is doing great. He is on the road to recovery, but he's at the best place he's been now for the past 2 months. Thank you.
Yeah, Buddy, that's her horse. And she's had that horse since you were 13.
Yeah.
13.
It's 10
and
years.
yeah, almost 10 years. And he was not a young horse when you got him, but he has been a great horse. But he just had some problems with his legs or one of his legs,
Yeah.
and so they kind of got that cleared up, and so it's just been great. But
A lot of money, but great.
yeah, it's a lot of money. But the great thing now, she has Brattle 95 Instagram, and shooting Sarah Mack.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she does a lot with horses. The thing is, a lot of times people will ask her questions about guns. And she's learning a lot, and she knows some things, but that's not her world. That's not her dream. Her dream is horses, and she loves to shoot, but horses and doing that. But it's just great to be able to have her to help me to sort through all this stuff.
I try. I try to be very organized.
Well, sometimes everything gets a little crazy for me, which I love, but especially handling Sensible Prepper and Such, and I'm kind of pulled sometimes, but it's just a lot of fun. Yes.
Chase Kelly asks, what about the new Flag Series guns by Ruger? They look pretty cool.
Yeah, I haven't really had a lot of time to kind of look them over and do some things. I know that they've got a lot of new things coming out, which I love that about Ruger. Ruger seems to have really kind of stepped up lately, doing a lot of new things, whether it was with their Wrangler or their Security 6. Security 6, that's an old one, but Security 9s. And, even the Ruger American, which is an older design now, but, they've really kind of moved away just from the SR9, and they have a nice array of different firearms. So, but Ruger's doing good. So, yeah. And to me, typically with Ruger, they're just good quality. I mean, and they're not really all that expensive. So, I think it's a good choice.
Jim Waldron says,
Hey,
I
Jim.
married a New Jersey Democrat and turned her into our Florida Republican.
Awesome. Now that is a feat right there.
Especially with a woman.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you said it, because I wasn't going to say
I can say that.
But we have some really good friends of ours from New York and New York City, Manhattan. Well, not Manhattan. They're from the Bronx, actually. And it's funny because when they first came down, they were liberal, and they moved to Florida. And when they came back this way, they have really moved into the conservative camp. And it's funny because, in fact, we're planning to go shooting with them, and they're excited, and we're looking for her gun right now. It's funny because if you can, your influence, whether it's your wife, and that seems to be the toughest, but wife or friends or in-laws or whatever, take them out and get them to shooting, and they can see the news. I don't know if y'all saw it or not. We were watching it just a minute ago, but down in Disney World, they had a family. It was Disneyland, actually.
Oh, it was Disneyland.
It was Disneyland. They had these two There was a family. It was all a family.
They
were having a brawl right in the middle of Toontown. It's on Fox News if you want to check it out. It's a whole video, and it's brutal, actually.
I can't believe people would actually do that to their own family.
And people were just standing around watching, and just going to Disney. The number of times we've been to Disney, it's just funny to see that. You're thinking, man, if you came across that, it's crazy.
Happiest place on earth.
Yeah.
Everybody would kill each other. Steve Brown says, hello from California, struggling with new ammo laws out here.
Oh, man. I know. I don't know. I'm sorry. I hate it because, to me, you're a fellow American. It just burns me up that stuff goes on. And then and it's like you think, man, they've gone to this. And then all of a sudden you hear, oh, they're doing this, this, and this. I mean, where does it stop? And then, crime still continues to skyrocket. I don't know. I'm sorry. It's just, it's just sad. And, a lot of people go, well, just move then. Well, you can't necessarily just move. I probably have said that myself. You can't just uproot yourself. You got jobs, you have family, you have responsibilities, you have a lot of things that when you're in that area. And so, yeah, if you were able to, great. But sometimes that's just not the option. So I hate it for you. I mean, I really do.
Enigma asks, you mentioned in a video a few years ago that you used to own a gun shop. How did that experience go?
Yeah, well, it was good. I had a partner guy that we both had jobs. I mean, separate jobs, full-time jobs. And We had one of his brother would actually help run it. It was a small shop, and but I'll tell you what's funny is, my family was in the jewelry business. We made custom jewelry for years. I mean, my dad still, he's retired now, but he still does it just on the side. But when it was in a small town, and so we were just custom. So on one side, I had guns in there. I was selling guns there at the jewelry store. It wasn't a pawn shop, but it may have looked like one at one time. But we didn't have a lot of guns. I just had a few, and I kind of just dabbled in it because I've always loved them. And then we ended up getting a full-on shop and had it, it was actually, we did really, we did fine. The thing is, unfortunately, and it's still the same way today, is there's a lot of competition out there. And so, unless you got to, it's almost like you got to go big or go home. But the great thing now is because of the internet, and this was really before the internet, a lot of people, the transfers, because really there's not a lot of money as far as a markup on a firearm. You get it from the distributor and you sell it, it's usually not that big of a markup. So a lot of times if you're, just doing a transfer, you're making about as much as you would otherwise. So as long as there's a lot of that going on, but that's a tough business to be in because everybody that likes guns wants to be in the gun business. But loved it. Didn't make a lot of money because we ended up buying something and keeping it, but it was good.
Jim Waldron asks, have you heard anything about Smith & Wesson reintroducing the Model 58?
No, but I do know that they're reintroducing or have plans to reintroduce a number of different firearms, which I think is awesome. And so we'll see. Just like the Model 19, I love it, and it's just beautiful. And just like we were talking about the other week, Colt's going to do the same thing, but I haven't heard any specifics about what they are releasing. But I'll tell you guys, years ago we had limited choices. And things have really spread out, opened up, and we have so many choices. You can really get, the firearm that suits you, or your preferences, your small preferences. And so I think it's just really cool. And they're reintroducing some of the older models because, it's funny to me, the PC9 carbine, when you think about the Camp carbine by Marlin, which, a lot of people liked it, or even the old PC9 carbine by Ruger. They just didn't make it. They just, nobody really, now they're being revived and people are loving it. People are going out and buying them. And it's like this, guys. I've always said this, the thing is, you may have some preferences. It's like me. I always wanted a Beretta 92. I saw Lethal Weapon and I had to have one. I just wanted a Beretta 92. My good buddy John had one. I went over and I got it and I picked it up and I was like, good grief, this thing feels like a freaking brick. It just felt big and clunky. And I just thought, I don't want that. Now, years later, I love the Beretta 92. I have a few of them. I have about 3 of them. Because one of them is the M19, the M9, A3, the new one. But it's a smooth shooting gun. It feels good in my hand because I'm now so used to shooting those big double stack magazines, which I wasn't really before. I was used to shooting 1911s. So, I can change as well. So, having certain firearms back then, I had different preferences. Now they've changed. It's just funny to me because a lot of people get really locked into one thing and they want to blast it and their preferences can change. And so, that's one thing I don't do. And some people go, well, you just always say everything positive. No, I just am a realist to know that there's a ton of different people with different hand sizes, different preferences, different experiences, different body shapes, different styles, or they just want something different. And so it's not that I am the all-inclusive authority. And, and I think that's just one of the things I like to do. Yes.
Thad asks,
I'm preaching.
So many guns, so little time. Is there a gun that you don't own, but you always wanted?
Well, Thad, I know that you have been to the range today because we talked a little bit earlier, and I'm jealous because I've been on vacation and we didn't really get to go right before we left even. I mean, I'm itching to get out to the range. And that EMP4 looked really sweet. Really right now, it's funny because I've gotten to where I like firearms that maybe are just a different or older, or they're a little bit more classic. And so because I get a lot of the same firearms in. It was funny for a long time. One of the firearms I really wanted. Now I have one of the Springfield Armory, and that's one of the M1A ones, SOCOM. It's a little bit, it's the short one, which I really like it. But I really wanted one of the full size for a long time. Then I got the James River Armory, the M14, which is M1A, and that gun, I have it now. It's not one I've always dreamed about having one with that long barrel, with that just the wood, and it's funny because a lot of times you want it until you have it. That's a gun that when I got it, and I've had it now for, I don't know, about a year and a half or 2 years, and I love it. But as far as anything that I really, I would like a SCAR, just because, I've shot them, but I don't have one, and they're super expensive, not super expensive, but they're fairly expensive. And it's not something I'm going to just run out and grab. Even though, it might go fine on the channel, but that is something. Also, right now, I would just like to get a hold of and I've got one. I've got a 70 series Colt, but 1911. But I would like to get another just good Colt, brand new in the box, plain Jane GI model. I know that's funny, but that's what I'd like to get. But yeah, I'm not quite as. My wants have kind of sometimes caught up with me to where they just have caught up with me. So I think it's kind of cool because in some ways it gives me more of an analytical look at firearms instead of getting so like, oh my goodness. This little Zenith MP5 clone, actually made on HK licensed. This is one of my favorites. I love the way it's so small. It's so fun. It's really, you can tell, you can feel the quality with it. And the pistol brace really makes it nice. It's funny. A good friend of mine bought one of the HK 94s right after the assault weapons ban. And it had the 16-inch barrel, it was about that long, and it had a shroud. And of course it had the stock. And it looked ungainly because that's just the way it had to look. And when the pistol braces came out, it really kind of brought it back into a really sweet little package. And this is another one. So it's funny. I guess I've kind of gotten back to appreciating some of the firearms that I do have. And because, being a gun reviewer for the past 11 years, you acquire, you acquire stuff. But, and then I got my Luger. I did buy that from Classic Firearms, one of the Swiss Lugers. That was one that was big on my list. And so hopefully we can get a review on it. So Thad, sorry I didn't quite answer your question, but that's my where I'm going. Yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Charles asked,
hey, Charles.
Your video surviving a human stampede is exceptional.
No,
never saw this addressed before. I am in a big city and at a mega church. Anything to add regarding a large church?
Well, we go to a large church. And, one of the biggest things for me is, is being prepared, mindful ahead of time. It was funny, but the other night we went into this, we were in Pirates Voyage down at the beach. It's one of those,
Parton.
Yeah, dinner and show. And they have these pirate ships and they do all this stuff. It's cool. It's fun. And my favorite part were the sea lions. They brought these big old sea lions out, and that was the cool. The mermaids, of course, were right there with it. But anyway, so it was funny because I was sitting in there, and we had our whole family in there, had about 15 people. We're sitting there across the thing, and of course the place is packed. And all of a sudden I went, where are the exits? And it was funny because something just hit me to think about it. And so then I went, wait a minute. So I looked and saw the different exits, and I went, okay, I should have already done that. And knowing your exits, knowing to stay, don't get in the dead middle where you could get trapped. Maybe it's a little more inconvenient. Maybe you're not seeing everybody like you should. Get over to the side. because I'll tell you now, there was something I read that sparked that, but there have been instances where thousands of people have been trampled to death. I mean, like a big fire. There were some. I think, in fact, some of the pictures and the photos that I was showing, or the accounts to where like they were having some major event and the building collapsed and people were trying to get out. So. But that's the big thing, but I'll tell you, it was really funny because one of the things that just during doing my research there, one of the things that really came to mind that I would never have thought about was bringing your arms up like this when the crowd starts to press. Because when the crowd presses, you're like this, you can't get your arms up. You cannot physically raise your arms. And then what happens is you can't breathe because everybody's pressing in. So a lot of people just smother standing there. Then some people reach down and grab something. So, I highly recommend anybody watching that video because it's something that can happen. As far as, but like I say, just to answer your question in particular, as far as really the things that I kind of talked about in there addressed are definitely something to think about. But one of the big things for me is we sit actually in the far left corner. And it's there where the exit is. We have a certain place that we all sit, and we usually go with a good group with our kids and with a lot of their friends. We try to take them with us, but definitely knowing where your exits are. I'm part of the safety team. So that's one thing, that for one service, I serve as on the safety team. On the second service, I attend the actual, service. So, but yeah, exits and not getting in the dead middle of the crowd. Or going to Walmart on Black Friday. That's probably one of the best tips. Yes.
Where am I? Enigma asks, what was the biggest disappointment in a firearm you've ever had?
It was the Smith & Wesson. It was that, and I can't remember the model number. It was the one that was like the 411 or the 611 that was, but it was the little cutoff one. In fact, it was called a Ladysmith. And it was like one of those 22s. It was like the barrel was cut off and the grip was cut off. And a buddy of mine had one. And so I did a review on it. And it was horrible. I couldn't get it to do anything. It just was horrible. I mean, I just always remember I hated that pistol. That wasn't one that I owned, but it was definitely something that I just hated. And it's funny because, usually a Jennings J22, which is now a Jimenez. I have one of those. It's a cheap gun. In fact, when I had my gun shop, I paid $45. That's my cost, $45. I sold them for $69. I paid $45 for those things. I put, I can see that look. I still have it, and I've had it before she was born. And I've shot the fire out of it. I use CCI mini mags. That's what it works the best with. And frog lube. Now, some people don't like frog lube for certain things, but for me, really small mouse guns, throw in some frog lube, and that seems to work better than ever. I don't know. It's just the way it works. But I've had some cheap guns, but here's the thing, guys. There's some guys out there that can break an anvil with a feather. There are some guys out there that can do it. They can jam it up. They can tear it up. For me, I don't know. I typically have pretty good success with firearms, as far as not having a lot of malfunctions. We just don't have a lot of malfunctions. I mean, we really don't. But see, to me, if you've got a modern firearm with a lot of the technology that's going on, there may be some bugs at first. I know Robbie Wheaton, he first got the Glock Model 42. It was the 380. He got two of them. We couldn't get either one of them to work. I mean, they just would not work. We found out it was the magazines. They got the new magazines. They work like a charm. But yeah, there's not. And plus, I have traded and wheeled and dealed guns so long especially when I was younger. There's all kind of stuff. So, not giving you a straight answer, but that's just some thoughts.
Jim asks, what year and what manufacturer is your Luger?
It's a DWM. It's a German made, and I believe that makes it earlier. because the Germans originally made the Lugers for the Swiss Border Patrol and their military and whatever before World War One. And then when the war broke out, they couldn't get firearms. And so the Swiss actually bought one of the machines and began to produce their own. And I don't know the year because I've taken it out just a couple of times. I just honestly have not had time to really. I've got it out and I did some things with it, but that's just as far as I've gotten with it. So it's probably early century, but it's excellent condition. And that's one of the things I always used to see classic firearms. They would have these Swiss Lugers, just a little small lot. They'd appear and they put them on auction because they only had a few, and they'd sell them, And so I thought one time, I said, I really want one of those. And so when I was up there, they just happened to have received a small lot of them. And they even let me go through and pick it out. And they gave me a good price. It was still expensive. But, I couldn't talk Ben into giving it to me. Not that I would have ever talked to him and I would never have even asked. I just said, how much, can I buy one? Because I was really excited about getting one. So, but I don't know all the details. When I do the full review, I will reveal all. If I can find
he knows.
Yeah. So anyway, okay. Now there are a couple of things. Oh, I want to talk to you guys about something right now. And I want some feedback if you feel led, or if you have some ideas, you can just throw them out there. In fact, we went on vacation. We had to put away some of the firearms. We put them all away actually, but I couldn't lay hands on in fact, you'll see everything's changed up here, but couldn't lay hands on the Scorpion Evo 3 Micro, which I'm getting ready to finish that review up. But I want you to give me some thoughts here, just a little bit of feedback. And even after the video, it's like this firearm right here. This is a pistol, has the pistol brace, short barrel. It's got that black rifle look to it. This video, if I was to upload this video today, it would be demonetized immediately. So I'm trying really to think. I mean, Patreon support really is what helps me to put those videos out. That little Berno Model 2, 22 long rifle, bolt action, demonetized. I don't even know why. And thank you, because you guys are what keep those videos going on YouTube. But when I do some of this kind of stuff, that's just like the one. And J&G Sales actually sent me that Model 2 and said, look, it will send you the Model 2. It's a nice rifle, and, do the review. So actually I did get the rifle, but the rifle doesn't pay, power bill. But the thing is, like with this, let's just say this is the CZ Evo 3, and I've kind of talked a little bit about this. So I take the CZ Evo 3, I go to do all my range, go down to the range. We've already been twice with it. Go down to the range, do the shooting, blow through, about 700 rounds of ammunition. Just have a big time, love shooting it. And when I come back and then I do my tabletop, talk all about the details. And, it takes about 8 to 10 hours to edit a video, because I like for it to be professional. I want it to be, really good. I don't want to just sit there and just, oh yeah, this is this. And I'm not as good as Hickok, because he is good about remembering all the details and making it flow. So I put the video up. The video is immediately demonetized. Then if I want to keep it, I got to pay, CZ for the pistol. And so there are some things that I'm going to do, just like with the J&G Sales with the Berno. I'm going to do that anyway. But should I bother doing, going to all the trouble that I go to for something like this to present it on YouTube, when immediately, it's just, and so what my question is, should I just do more of an abbreviated, not get into all the details, or is that being disingenuous to the gun community? I mean, am I really saying, you know what, I don't even care? And so, but that equals to, a lot of time and energy. Now, Patreon does help to offset that. And that's the only way I could even possibly do it. I mean, seriously, because, with the CZ, there's nothing there's nothing coming back. In fact, I'm paying for the pistol if I want it. So ideas, thoughts, should I, say, oh no, don't change your format, because, it's important. I don't want to come off going, I'm just cheap. I'm trying to look for the easy way out, because I'm not. I got into this because I wanted to help people to understand firearms, to help inspire a love for firearms. And I don't know. I'm just kind of torn right now. Not on all my videos, just the ones where I know that they're going to be demonetized. And then again, that Berno, I thought, oh, that's going to be monetized. It's funny, BattleBox. And just give you some insight. I'm going to give you some insight that I wouldn't tell anybody else. BattleBox, I do some things for them. They'll send me a box, and so I do the video, and I don't just sit there and say, oh, this is this. I get it out and test it, because I want to go a step above. I want to have something for people to really be able to enjoy. And so the last video I did, I made $40. I think it was $50, $49. So I get the box. Okay, the box is given to me free. I don't need anything else. Believe me, guys, we've got so much stuff, and we try to give it away and do things. But so I get the box. I made $50 on the video. It took me a full day, just half the day to do it. Actually, 1.5 days. And so the guys at BattleBox, because I've skipped a couple, they've sent them, but I never agreed to do every one anyway, but they just send them. And so they got in touch with me, and they said, hey, and I said, man, you know what? I love it. I love what you're doing. I think the boxes are cool. I said, but my last video, I looked it up. I said, I made $50 on that video. I said, I just can't work a day and a half for $50. Maybe when I was in high school, I would have. But, and so it's a dilemma for them too. But I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing some things out. Is there something you think that, maybe I do too much of? Maybe I go overboard. But would it take away from the quality that I like to present? So, you can ask you can throw in some things here if you want. But this is what I'm saying, or this is what I'd like, is maybe go back on Patreon under this and say, you know what, I thought about it, and maybe this and this and this. Just want some feedback. I'm going to tell you this. I've never asked for that. I mean, I've never asked anybody for that kind of feedback. Just because my mind's going like this all the time. And it's funny to me when a lot of guys go, well, I just threw it out there. What do you guys want me to do? What do y'all want me to do? I don't know. What do you want next? I have so many ideas to do next, but this is so different. It's battling against, I don't know. I just feel like I'm rambling.
There are some comments about what you just said.
Well, I really, the thing is for me, and this is my thing about YouTube and about life, is live it to the fullest. I'm not on YouTube just to get by. I'm not on YouTube just to be a big shot, because that's the last thing I care about. I'm on YouTube to help people. I mean, because I want my life to help others. I want people to gain something from knowing me in some way. I mean, that's just who I am. It has nothing to, whether it's on video or whether it's down at, waiting tables at some at Waffle House, which is, but there's my mantra, my theory, or my theory. My life is based on whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might, and do it the best of your ability. So, I don't want to cheapen it, but sometimes you got to go, you know what? I really like doing this, but it's just not worth doing it all the way. Let's just do abbreviated. And then some of you guys are going, oh man, So, and that's the thing. If somebody gets on my video and they see a CZ Evo 3 micro review and they're expecting this detailed review, and I'm just kind of doing an overview, does that leave a bad taste in their mouth? And, it's funny because I'm willing. It's just like I told CZ. I mean, I have a friend, Zach, over at CZ. He is awesome. I've known him for years. And if I need something, I can tell him and they'll send it. and they give me a good price on it. You know, I mean, I get a better price than even a gun shop can pay. But like I said, it doesn't pay the bills. So, you know, it's just, I don't, you know, it's almost like I want to say, well, you know, don't send it because I'm not going to make any money. And that just seems kind of yuck to me. I'm not like that. I don't want to do it that way. So if you guys have some solutions or some thoughts now or later, I will go back and read them. I think I'm seeing a lot of stuff being popped in there.
Yeah, there is a lot.
Good. And I think it'd be great because it's been a dilemma for me for a while, actually. I've really been kind of torn. You know, I have a certain setup and you guys know it. You know, I start out and I go, you know, this is the, you know, AR-15 pistol. Let's check it out, you know, and then I go through this, you know, loading magazines and, you know, shooting and got music, you know, kind of pumping things up. And I do that because I think it's, you know, people, you know, it's kind of builds it up a little bit. It makes it fun and it's just and it shows, you know, the firearms being shot. And we're going to be shooting them anyway. So, I mean, it doesn't really hurt to do that. But I try to make it really as professional as I can, not being a professional at all. And then, you know, going through and cutting out any of the fluff. So I'm not repeating myself over and over, which sometimes I end up doing it because when the video is 20 minutes long, it's hard not to. I'll try to go back and go, you've done said that, man. Click that out. But I want the information to be so good for people to be able to take, but yet for it to be a full, you know, palette of information for them to be able to make a good choice. Because to me, people that are buying firearms, you know, there's a lot of people that collect them, but there's some people that go out and buy one firearm. And I don't want to lead them in buying just one firearm that has problems and has issues. So, but, you know, we can't help that. Anyway, I feel like I'm rambling a little bit, but I just really appreciate your comments. If you guys have some, if you have some questions, throw them in there. But if you have some ideas, I'm all ears. I'm open. I'm not saying, because obviously we'll have some different opinions about what needs to be done. I'm not saying that I will do those things altogether, but I will consider them. I'll take them and, you know, and really look at them. Because, you know, it's funny. There's a lot going on right now with Congress, and even the Democrats are calling for, you know, YouTube and some censorship stuff that they've been doing. So, you know, kind of calling them out. And I don't know the answers, but it's definitely gotten more difficult for conservative Second Amendment and others to be able to have an opinion. So
we have 1 minute.
What? Okay. So now, before we even finish, I want to just say thank you because I'm seeing comments over here. Thank you, because I'm going to go back and read them. And I just appreciate it. If the overwhelming consensus is, man, this is important for you too, because it's less and less people are doing just real full reviews, you know, doing trigger pull weights, doing, you know, seems to be. And I don't want to cheapen what I do because I feel very strongly about getting that information. But anyway, good. But I am going to go back and read, and I want to appreciate everybody that has put in some, you know, their thoughts, because you guys are I count on you guys, and I love it. I am honored and humbled that you're here, you know, that you're even here on the live, but that you're on Patreon at all. And it's a real honor, and I really appreciate it. We could not do what we do without you. And again, you know, really, Patreon pays for Sarah Mac's salary, and pretty much, and that's been a godsend for me. It's been a blessing. So, you know, we want to keep conservative voices out there. And so, anyway, guys, really great to have you guys on here tonight, and just great to see. Yeah, we got a good number that have been through. And I just hope that I seem like I've rambled a lot tonight, but I guess because we didn't have you guys last week. Tomorrow we will be live on Facebook, and you know, it's kind of funny because it's that 2:00 I don't know how people have time to watch it if they have a job, but or whatever. I know a lot of people have different ways they can work, but but I know that this seems to be a good time for, hopefully for you guys. But Facebook, and guys, I will put I'll download the Facebook and put it on Vimeo and then put it on here if you don't do Facebook, and which I know a lot of people don't. And so that way we can have it on, Patreon. But just really appreciate everything you do. And, guys, I'm telling you, I've met a lot of you guys, and, we've had correspondences, and it's been awesome. It's just been awesome. And I don't really, because I have so many on YouTube and so many on Facebook, and, so many people are, and I don't have time. And I try to make time. But listen, if you tried to get in touch with me this past week and I didn't get in touch with you, it was only because I was down at the beach. And I'm a little overwhelmed right now to catch up. I went in this morning, I was like, oh my gosh, I got so much. But it's good.
And it's Monday.
And it's Monday. But you know what? I like Mondays because I know that we're going to come in here and do this live event.
Sure.
I'll tell you guys, I love it. I love doing the lives. But anyway, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for hanging out with us. I see a lot of comments. Thank you for leaving those. And I will go back through. Big thanks to Sarah Mack for setting everything up. And we really appreciate it. Be strong. Be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic.